Hey everybody, I am Pieface, and I'm the creative director at Kingdom Studios. And we actually released or announced a week or so ago that us at Kingdom Studios, we are building Defy Kingdoms. So that's kind of the explanation behind that. And to give a little bit of background on me is that I have about 10 years of experience in design and in UX. So it's been quite the journey building Defy Kingdoms because we launched in April 22nd, last year, 2021. And it was about March that the idea kind of conceptualized. But yeah, it's been very much a interesting experience. It's been quite a ride. It's been awesome. I've loved it so much. So I'm really happy to be here. So yeah, so my presentation is about impact and delight. Why not both for UX and Web3? And I do want to kind of share really quickly that, in Web3, there's elevated expectations on, what we need in our UX. Because in Web2, there's some, rickety UX out there and people kind of put up with it. But in Web3, with smart contracts and finality, we need our UX to be very smooth and very lots of clarity. So let's see. Yeah, so this is Defy Kingdoms. Just a quick intro. I'm not sure if everybody was at the announcement earlier at the mainnet stage. If you haven't been there, or if you weren't there, definitely check it out because we had some awesome announcements. But just to give you a quick intro on Defy Kingdoms is, it's a gamified, decentralized exchange. And our NFTs are like video game characters that have utility and they're dynamic. So we also have incredible game mechanics. We have an entire department of people who are dedicated to it. And also gorgeous pixel art. We have an entire team of pixel artists who work on everything, pixel by pixel. And just a quick, I'm not sure if the contrast is showing, but quick little blurb is, no VC funding for Defy Kingdoms. We didn't do any ICOs or anything. So I think that's something I'm personally very proud of. So yeah. So I do want to kind of go over our UX evolution. The first image up there, it's where we started. We released August 22nd. We looked just like that. And it's very interesting. We had a bank, marketplace, and the gardens. And then underneath is a screenshot of what we look like today. And you can see that it's very much zoomed out. You can see there's a couple of little land plots over there. But kind of to go through the bullets, we had our decks, and then 1 month later, we released our hero NFTs, and we released 2,000 of them, and they sold out in like 11 minutes. And then the summoning aspect, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with CryptoKitties or Axie Infinity, where you can take two characters and make a third one out of it, and we call it summoning. So, and then we came out with our tavern marketplace, and that's where you can buy and sell them, and natively within the platform. And then we have profession quests where you take these NFT heroes and you can do quests. And then the potion crafting is where you take the items that you got as rewards and you can, create more, create potions. And all of the quests and the rewards, they are, ERC 721 tokens. Yeah, and so last bullet is we announced much more earlier. So yes, next slide. So I do want to go over kind of the story of the impact, because you can see up is the Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap. We were very familiar with those, during DeFi summer last year. It was, we were very familiar with the experience, but it was very lacking because, there's a little swap button, and it's, even though they had really cute UI with it, but we wanted to take it to the next level. And that's where Defy Kingdoms, it's unique because we wanted to turn a swap functionality into an NPC. An NPC stands for non-playable character in video games. So we wanted to bring something familiar outside of DeFi into it. So we unified the UX of gaming with DeFi. And another thing is, so by the way, we have Merchant Matoya. She's the one who does our swaps. And then the other guy over there, he's a druid, and he that's where you pair your tokens and then you stake them. So that's kind of a cute little character. But I do want to get into the other important bullets, is that the impact. There's a lot, great impact comes great responsibility. So that means you have to prioritize safety and clarity, because this is, money, people's money and investing that is involved. So we want to make sure that they know what's going on, because the NPCs, it was pretty unique of an experience. So we wanted to create a lot of clarity behind it. And with a unique, fun experience, it means that, a lot of the people who are attracted to it likely aren't exposed to crypto. So we had to provide a lot of education and onboarding. And so we created, a whole section before you even get into the game, so that people can understand crypto, and understand the tokens and the impact behind it. So yeah, that's definitely something that we learned over time. So delight, I mentioned delight, like what even is delight? And so something like a quick little trick that I use, it's like, it's something that like makes you smile. It's like something charming. And so we added a lot of that into our game and into Defy Kingdoms, just things that, animate, and things that are, have some, gamification. And so we have, I think a really good tip for creating delight in a platform is, personification. And that means, add a little bit of personality and flavor into things. And just like make it fun, because, DeFi is very, very serious, and, making it fun just makes it more interesting, and we have to balance it with a lot of clarity. But anyways, just going through, it's, some more basic UX is how, you want to make sure that your platform loads smoothly. And that's like where, we don't want things to go very slowly when you're loading, and you're like waiting, you're like, okay, what's going on? Is this transaction gonna go through? And it's like very stressful. So being able to visually indicate that is very important. And so for, in DeFi, we don't ever want to leave people thinking, oh, what's next? I did this, and then what do I do now? And so you definitely want to, like hold your user's hand across the process, because it is very serious. And when you're doing things with investing, and when you make it fun, you don't want it to make it careless either. So that's something that we learned in DeFi Kingdoms as we were building it. So yeah. Okay, this is the slide where there's no fun pictures. It's just words. But this is kind of where I do want to get into confidence in the iteration process. And so what this means, so in design and in UX design, it's a very iterative process. So you start, with different stages and continue to improve. But what I want to say out loud and read word for word is in italics. So if you wait till everything is perfect to release and launch, it'll never happen. And so that's something that I noticed, in other projects. It's like they keep, people are like, when? And so it's, it can be stressful, but being able to be very transparent throughout the whole process is something that can kind of make up for all the time that it takes to develop things. So I do want to get into the little bullets of, building a transparent roadmap. And then I do want to emphasize generous timelines, because, things take a lot of time. I know that we try to develop 24/7, but we are human. So it's something very important to kind of be transparent about that. And then another part is planning realistic milestones and keeping the community looped in the process. This is definitely a huge success that we experienced in DeFi Kingdoms, is keeping everybody very looped in, and to kind of provide, specific, it's like, how do you be transparent? Like how do you be transparent? And the way to do that is that we personally did it in Defy Kingdoms is AMAs, and that's like Ask Me Anything, and that's where you do kind of like an interview type thing. And so we talk, have some points, and then actually have people in the community ask us questions. And when they're able to do that, it kind of gives us a connection with the community. So, and then whenever we release instead of like dumping a bunch of big features over a really long timeline, we like to kind of do incremental releases to signal progression. So, and then I have this last bullet. I think we've gotten a little bit of heat from the community we often say soon or thun, and it isn't enough, because when people are like, oh, when is this going to be released? And we often say soon, and that's definitely not enough for the community, and we've definitely felt bad about it. But just being able to be transparent about it as well is just very important. But yeah. So I do want to point out, give some kudos to some other projects on the Avalanche community, on Avalanche is Chicken. I looked at Chicken and Corbata. They had, really great impact and delight throughout their work so far. And I screenshotted each of their roadmaps because I thought they were really good roadmaps. And I saw some other projects, they didn't really have roadmaps, so it was like hard to visually see. It's like, what are they doing now? What have they done? And then what's happening in the future? So I think that's really important to have a very visual roadmap for everybody to see very easily. And then to kind of go through, they also have great gamification, unique characters, their mechanics also really great. But yeah, just wanted to point them out as good examples. Just instead of just talking about us at Defy Kingdoms, I wanted to share some other projects that are doing it as well. So I would like to hear from people in the audience, kind of any ideas that you've thought of, and in terms of what you're building. And just to think of how is it not just a fork? How is it not just a copy pasta? What is something specifically that you're doing that you're innovating? Because it's like, oh, I want to create a DEX, a decentralized exchange. It's like, okay, are you just gonna find and replace things, or is it gonna be something really unique? And then if there's some other ideas that you feel like are very conventional, you have it built out very well, what is something that, something unique that can be applied to your ideas? So yeah, I'm just welcome. Does anybody have any ideas they would like to share?
Yeah, I mainly had a question. It's I see there's two specific users in the industry. That's more the institutional professional investors and the retail investors. And when it comes to gaming, how do you see that? Do you think there are more professional investors also would participate in the gamification elements, or would they require different solutions?
Definitely, that's a great question. Retail and professional. We have seen both of them in DeFi Kingdoms, which is very interesting. And there are some people who only focus on the game and don't think of the investing aspect of it. And then there's only people who care about the investing and not the retail game aspect of it. And just has been a very interesting balance to balance both of it. And they are completely different users and they have different personas. So that is something that it's weird. It's very interesting to see how there's people who only focus on the investing, and if they ever trickle over to the other side, and then same with people who've done only the game and trickle to the other side, but we don't try to force them to do one or the other. And it's definitely something where, because we share what our features are, but we don't tell them what to do. It's definitely, we give them the choice to do what they want to do, and then it's up to them, especially because we always have to say, the not financial advice thing, but we want to create and build cool stuff and let them, get some benefit from it as well.
So what is one bad user experience journey that you've seen platforms doing over and over in the industry that you think should change? One thing that's consistent?
Okay, so what's a user experience journey that we've seen, like a pattern of it? Yeah, so one that we've seen is very common is like a word of mouth thing where someone would tell their friend about DeFi Kingdoms or about a cool project, and it's how do you get them on board from not knowing anything about crypto? And so that's where we have to learn and kind of teach a complete beginner on how to do it. So that's definitely where we've create a dedicated section and also a lot of education behind it. So yeah, very important.
For your AMA, do you just use Reddit, or what do you do for that?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. So for our AMAs, yeah, usually Reddit is the place to do AMAs, or that's where I've seen it as well. But our AMAs are actually done on Discord, and we do our Discord where it's you put on a stage, and we actually have Bolon, who's our host, and then we do it by department. So it's like, oh, what's our builders and our devs? We'll do an AMA for them, and then we'll do an AMA for the art department. And so we'll only talk about pixel art, or we'll only talk about like the coding and the front end of it. So we kind of have it split up into that, so that we can have some more questions that are a little more focused. Although often we get sometimes we're doing an art AMA and a bunch of developer questions will come in, and we feel so bad for our artists because they're like, and then they'll defer. So we make sure that we actually have someone, at least one person who can answer like both questions. So we actually have Fox, who will be at our AMAs, and he can kind of defer to the developer questions. But then sometimes if Bolon is very good, he'll just be like, next question, that's not related. But yeah, that's what we do for AMAs. And it's really good. We actually have some really good questions that come from that, some really difficult questions. And we're always really happy to answer those difficult questions. So, yeah.
Thanks. Why do you think DeFi UX is so bad? Is it because people are focused on like token emissions? No, really, it's just terrible. I'm okay. Do you think it's bad because everyone's like, okay, let's launch a token, and users are ignoring the UX and just want to get a token farm and then dump it, and the platform doesn't actually learn from the users? Like, what are some traits that you've seen that kind of force a platform to develop bad user experience and to avoid that?
That is such a great question. I love it. And why is UX in DeFi so bad? And it's really interesting. I don't remember what it was exactly, but UX is often used, I've heard in Web3, kind of like a buzzword. I'll have to admit that I've heard it used that way. And it's very interesting because you mentioned pump and dumps, and yes, yeah. People will just farm and not care about the token. And I think that's part of why what we put a lot of emphasis on in DeFi Kingdoms is how do you make people care about a project? And that's where we added the gaming, added the pixel art, and the delight, because we want people to actually care about it a lot. So, but what's pretty interesting, I would like to share about August 22nd when we launched is, so Fox was expecting pump and dump action. So what he did was he actually did some anti-botting measures. So he put in the code ways for people not to be able to just, do some botting. And that was really smart. It actually gained a lot of respect from people in the community. So yeah, I think that was really good. And there's also behind like unlocking schedules as well, just making sure like if people amass a ton of your token, they can't just withdraw it immediately. Add some withdrawal fees that are like a lot higher, and like it scales down. So yeah, I like that question a lot. Thank you.
How big is your art team on a project like this? And are you all located remotely, or you're working in one central location?
Yes, so our team, we have about 52 of our core team members, and then we actually have of our mods. There are moderators for our community. There's about 35 of them. But
specifically the art team?
Sorry?
Specifically the art team?
Art team. Oh, the art team. How big is our art team? Cinnamon Bun's answering. Seven, yeah. Seven's a great number. Yeah, Cinnamon Bun just said that we have 7 on our art team. Mhm. Ooh, yes, we also recruited a very talented artist. But yeah, we're definitely extremely bullish on the art and even just on the music alone. If you go on Defy Kingdoms, we have sick music. So just definitely check it out. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. This was a really great time to do this because I know that the Defy Kingdoms team is very elusive. So it's great to come here and just see everybody in person. So thank you very much.